Ladies and gentlemen, things have gotten so bad in California and Oakland that gruesome Newsom, Governor Gavin Newsom, is bringing in 120 California Highway Patrol. Yes, we've got John and Punch. They're coming to town. 120 of them to smooth things out in Oakland. I'm sure it'll work out just fine. Let's get into it. Here we go. So we've had a couple of major businesses. We've got In-N-Out Burger, now at Denny's, basically across the parking lot. They're closing down. They've closed down. This news story is just continuing, and why wouldn't it, right? Let's watch a little clip.
At what point will this all stop? Another big name business is bailing out of Oakland. Denny's is the latest, either getting out or making changes because of crime. NBC's Valina Jones is along Hegenberger Road near the airport.
Boarded up and closed for good.
I don't want it to be where it's nowhere for us to go because people are in fear.
The Denny's restaurant in Hagenberger Road served their last meal yesterday. The company says it's leaving due to safety concerns. The move comes after an armed robbery at the restaurant last month and several thefts and break-ins over the last few years. Locals say it's a story they're hearing all too often.
A lot of people don't want to visit. Don't nobody want to come somewhere where they know they're going to get robbed.
Councilmember Treva Reed has been working with law enforcement and actively meeting with businesses in the area, including Denny's, to try and address their concerns and prevent more from leaving. It's an effort, Reed says, will take urgency from city and regional leaders.
I can't be the primary leader at the table with these businesses. It's going to take regional leadership at the table for us all to come together to figure out how we leverage every resource we've got.
Denny's is the second restaurant to shut down in the airport corridor recently. In-N-Out Burger made a similar announcement last week, but it's not just the airport area that's being impacted. Eddie's Liquors in Rockridge tells us it's struggling to stay open after 4 break-ins in just 8 months, including one this week where thieves rammed a truck into their front door before stealing liquor, money, and their safe.
We not making that much money, and if it keeps happening, then just like the other businesses that's been closing down in Oakland, we might be another one.
Business break-ins, car burglaries, robberies, and car thefts have all increased in the past 3 years citywide. But the numbers show the police may be making some progress. Preliminary figures suggest auto burglaries have hit a 20-year low. Mayor Sheng Tao says she's actively working to address the issue, noting a 40% reduction in crime last year around the airport after an increase in police presence.
We know that our strategy is working, which is targeting those gangs and groups who are actually committing the crime, really going after them in a data-driven way.
But business owners...
But are you keeping them in jail? Are you keeping them in jail? You might be going after them, but that's one thing. But are you getting them off the street? It doesn't seem like it, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have John and Ponch to the rescue.
Thinking of leaving say they need to see long-term change in crime and policies if they're going to have a future in Oakland.
Every business is supposed to see more action. It needs to be stopped some way. That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm talking about, the policies. The policy is so weak here. It needs to be improved.
In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
We covered the In-N-Out Burger. I think it was like last week or something. It was recent. All this stuff is happening kind of just boom, 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 boom. And why wouldn't it? All of these folks are hanging on for as long as they can. But when you've got big national chains like In-N-Out Burger and Denny's, I think Denny's was there. Maybe it'll say in this article, but Denny's was there for 54 years, something like that. And In-N-Out Burger was there for, I think is it 40 something years? I mean, long periods of time. These are not businesses that just kind of popped up and, it's not working out in Oakland. Got to move on. But we've been watching the decline of Oakland for a long time. We've been watching the decline in San Francisco for a long time. So, Governor Newsom bringing in 120 California Highway Patrol, that takes resources from somewhere else, doesn't it? So you're literally just playing whack-a-mole. You got to get at the root cause, and that's you don't have a tough on crime policy. You've got the opposite, which is just, maybe we'll do a little catch and release here. But all of the policy, all of this woke policy in California is literally driving businesses out. Let's get into this article. Violent crime and other felonies fell in 2023 in America's biggest cities. They increased in Oakland. Robberies grew 38% last year in Oakland, according to police data. Burglaries increased 23%. Motor vehicle theft jumped 44%. Roughly 1 out of every 30 Oakland residents had a car stolen last year. 1 out of 30. That, if you live in Oakland, you know somebody that's had their car jacked. Bipping? I mean, everybody. Most folks have had some type of bipping incident, right? And they're not reporting so many of them because police are so overwhelmed. Even sending in Ponch and John, it's not going to do anything. And for those of you who didn't watch television during, what was it, the 70s, or maybe you're just younger and you're like, what's he talking about? It was a famous police show. It was set in California. California was the go-go days of California. You know, you had Officer Ponch, Eric Estrada, just this handsome guy riding his motorcycles. They were always coming to the rescue. I mean, they were single-handedly taking care of crime. Where was that? I'm sure it was LA, right? Everything was in LA back then. It was not in Oakland. On Tuesday, California Governor Gavin Newsom announced he was taking action. He's going to do something, folks. Gruesome Newsom, he's going to do something. He's deploying 120 California Highway Patrol officers to Oakland and the surrounding area to conduct a law enforcement surge operation. So bad. So bad. I mean, it's literally just, okay, we got a real bad problem over there. Let's go ahead and we'll plug up the hole over there. You can't use the word plug up the hole in the dike anymore because you just can't. I mean, that whole Holland thing, you can't go there. But this is a stopgap measure, right? What's it going to do? You're not really going to slow down the criminal activity because the criminals know, even if they get busted, they're not going to do any time. There's no bail. I mean, it's a free for all, and that's what you're combating. And so you've got another video I was going to play. The owner of a business said, "Hey, this is election politics. These are folks that want to get reelected. They want to keep the train rolling. They're doing this kind of stuff. They're showing these kind of news stories so that they can point out, hey, we've really been trying here. We've really been trying." But like the one Oakland councilwoman said, it's going to take a little bit of a regional approach. It's not a regional approach. It's a statewide approach. And this has happened in so many of these big liberal cities in blue states. Man, I was down in not California, in Texas. In these border towns, you see so many officer friendlies, whether they are National Guard, state police, local police. You've just got this massive presence of law and order. Not a lot of shenanigans. The criminal activity, you don't have these kinds of stories. It's because they got enough cops. In California, you don't have enough cops typically, and you also have a legal system, as opposed to Texas, that doesn't really do anything to prevent the criminal activity from keeping on going. So the aim to crack down on crime, including vehicle theft, retail theft, and violent crime, all right, is this really 120, California Highway Patrol? No, this is a PR stunt. What's happening in this beautiful city and surrounding area is alarming and unacceptable, Newsom said in a statement. Well, why don't you actually get tough on crime then? Oh, no, can't do that. We've got to have our love of humanity. We can't put anybody in jail. I mean, that's racist. You can't have that. I mean, that is just straight up racism, putting people in jail. That's a no-go, hard no-go. But, what happened to the city? What happened? Policy. Bad policy happened. And you're seeing the end result of it. And you can't work your way out with 120 California Highway Patrol officers. Not going to do it. Business owners have been pleading for help for months. We've been covering that. And some of why I haven't been covering these issues as much is because it's the same old thing, right? I mean, it's, okay, guys, we got yet another one. Here's another story. Same thing. Different day. It's Groundhog Day, right? Somebody gets broken into. All right. The 14th time. Hell, hope somebody comes to our rescue. It's not happening. Not happening. Not giving up. This is CNN now here, so we're not giving up. Nigel Jones isn't giving up on Oakland, even after Kingston 11, his community food center for low-income families, was vandalized and its glass doors smashed. That's just low, right? Community food center, what are you doing? It's like down in Portland when they vandalized, the library? I mean, you're like, have you no shame? Jones immigrated to the United States from Jamaica when he was 16 and made his home in Oakland. The chef and restaurateur currently owns 2 Jamaican restaurants, Calabash and Kingston 11. He says he is passionate about helping Oakland's disadvantaged families, but residents and businesses have pulled back from the city due to a rise in crime and public safety concerns, he said. When you develop your own vocabulary for break-ins in progress and everybody recognizes that bipping is a thing, that's when you know you've got a problem, right? That's when you realize, yeah, we're literally developing a vernacular because of the type of crime that is rampant in Oakland. In September, Jones and other downtown Oakland business owners walked off the job for a day to urge city and state leaders to improve safety in the area. And last summer, Oakland police advised residents to use air horns to alert neighbors to intruders and add security bars to their doors and windows. Kind of sounds like prison, right? We got a jailbreak. That's a great song by AC/DC, by the way. Jailbreak. The Oakland NAACP branch demanded elected leaders take action to ensure public safety, especially in predominantly black neighborhoods. They're the same ones bitching that too many black kids are getting thrown in jail, though, too, right? So, you can complain when the end result happens, which is what you've got going on, but you kind of need to look at historically, where have you come from and where have you gone? And the NAACP in Oakland, they are up in arms. They are upset because, hey, wait a minute. Policy is impacting their communities the most, right? The most. We had that whole defund the police thing and everybody was hot to trot on that. And now, and we talked about it back then, the summer of love, summer of 2020. Who is this going to impact the most? Predominantly black neighborhoods. Yeah. And this is where we sit. This is where we sit. Cascading effect. Jones said there's a vicious cycle playing out in Oakland. And it's not just Oakland. It's not just Oakland. It's in cities all over. It's here in Seattle. It's happening in Seattle. We've got 9 shootings. Is it on Interstate 5? We've had 9 shootings since the beginning of the year in a section here in King County. It's just, they're just shooting at each other. Get out your gun and shoot. I think Seattle is one of the most underrated areas that it's not known, the criminal level activity here that's going on. We got shootings, we got murders. We got it all. We got drugs coming up from California. It's a free for all in certain sections. Not the whole city isn't like that, but Oakland's got some room for improvement. Let's just say that. So residents and businesses have pulled back from downtown, in part due to public safety concerns. That's left fewer people on the street and created more opportunities for robberies and other crime. Kind of like at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody left and went home. That left basically the criminal element behind to do whatever they wanted. And they did. And here in Oakland, the story is not different. I don't want people to be fearful and stay home because businesses need you to come out. And the more people on the street, the safer it will be. But it's this vicious circle, right? People are afraid. It was like the young lady saying, people don't want to go someplace. They don't want to come over to my house if they know they're going to get robbed. That's not where they want to go. It's pretty basic, isn't it? So if nothing changes, it'll just start becoming a ghost town. Well, with the number of businesses that have left, and you're talking big national chains coming right out and stating its safety issues. Armed robbery? That qualifies as a safety issue, doesn't it? You get robbed, you have an armed robbery at your establishment. Yeah, corporate looks at your numbers and goes, all right, you're not making us a ton of money and you've got massive liability. We do not want to continue taking on that liability for making that little profit. Therefore, closed. Yeah. So it's not just small businesses. National companies are also pulling out of Oakland and taking extra measures to protect workers. In-N-Out Burger, we talked about that one. It had been there for a long, long time. They closed because of car break-ins, property damage, theft, and armed robberies, targeting employees and customers. Because in so many of these stories that I talk about, the corporate speak is, we after a long period of consideration and looking at all the angles, we analyzed everything. We decided that, in trying to meet our future economic goals, that this wasn't the direction that we wanted to go. And therefore, with much consideration, and our employees will have the opportunity to work elsewhere at our other stores, we are closing this establishment. But join us in our other establishments nearby, out of state, and just not here in Oakland. I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they close? That's the question, right? Denny's is shuttering its only location in Oakland after more than 54 years. Yeah, it was 54 years, citing public safety concerns. And most of the time, most of these stories that I read, if you've been here for a long, long, long time, if you're going back to the CHOP days, then you know that vast majority do not come out and say public safety concerns. But I think with the case of Oakland, it's just so obvious this is what's going on and this is what's happening that closed. Kaiser Permanente, have we talked about that one? Yeah, we talked about that one. Said a number of its employees working in its downtown Oakland offices were victims of armed robberies, vehicle theft, and other crimes in the latter part of 2023. Merry Christmas. Hope you don't get mugged. Merry Christmas. Hopefully you don't have an armed robbery as you're exiting your vehicle coming to work at Kaiser Permanente. We care about our employees. Kaiser Permanente reportedly issued a memo to employees recommending that the staff stay in buildings for lunch. Don't venture out into the wild. Don't get off the boat. You know that reference? Let me know. Never get off the boat. Let me know what that was. You'll tell me. The company did not comment on the memo to CNN because it wasn't supposed to be leaked. Somebody's like, this is terrible. I don't want to stay in for lunch. Then you've got other people going, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, yeah, it's California. You're going to have some diversity things going on. You might get robbed. Who knows? You might get mugged. And Clorox said it hired uniformed security guards to chaperone employees to the office from public transit stations, parking garages, restaurants, and coffee shops. It's like they're getting to where they need to go, and they've got that one more journey into the office. All right, guys, look both ways. Now we're going to sprint because you don't know what's going to happen. These are the streets of Oakland. Anything could happen here. Why crime has increased. Now, remember, this is CNN. So I try and read from a large variety because you can pick your story from anywhere. Because if you know what you're talking about, if you know the information and the stories, you can kind of see the angle, and you're smart enough to figure that out as well. Homicide, gun assaults, and most other violent crime fell in U.S. cities. But they remain above pre-pandemic levels. Number of homicides in 2023 fell by 10%. That's according to 38 cities, but other crimes have increased nationally. Motor vehicle theft increased by 29%. That's since 2019. Motor vehicle theft has shot upwards by 105%. 105%. Welcome to Joe Biden's America, right? And you got increased inflation. You got crime just soaring. Yeah, the immigration crisis. I mean, just so many things have just gone sideways, haven't they? Reported incidents of shoplifting, a crime that drew considerable attention from lawmakers in the media in 2023, jumped 22%. What you're seeing in a lot of these stats where you say, well, 22% isn't bad. What was it the year prior? And what was it the year prior to that? Get back to your baseline where it was lower for years and years. And then where did that spike take off? Probably about 2019. There's no easy answer to explaining why crime has increased in Oakland. Yeah, I think there is. There is. You just have policy in place that basically tells the criminal, do whatever the F you want, right? Because on so many points along the way, not enough cops. When the cops aren't able to do their jobs, prosecutors, what are they doing? Public defendants, you've got this whole massive issue with the criminal legal system, and nobody's really going to jail because, we're not really doing that anymore. You've got district attorneys in a lot of these cities that are soft on crime. You've just got a soft on crime approach. And this is what you get. And we've been talking about it for literally years now. I mean, why wouldn't this happen is the real question, right? Well, Sean, you're not giving Oakland a fair chance. No, I think I am. This is just reality. This is the reality you get when you have some terrible, terrible, soft approaches to crime. And you've got an area that just says, it's go time, baby. We're going to commit those crimes because this is our opportunity. The criminals, why wouldn't they do this? That's the big issue, right? Why wouldn't they? What is there to prevent them? Not much. 120 chips? John and Ponch coming to the rescue? Probably not, right? Pandemic-related changes in people's daily activities and emotional and economic stress levels, changes in police practices, and a rupture of public trust in law enforcement, and the suspension or reduction of social supports and programs are among the theories offered by crime scholars. No, you got a soft approach to crime. That's what you got going on. These other things, if you had a much harder core approach to crime, these other things would still be there. You've got, changes in daily activities. Yeah, we had a lot of changes in daily activities back in the 70s too, right? Remember the gas crisis? That's a change in activity. Are we going to get gas today, or are we going to be turned away because there's a limited, number of gallons you can pump? Emotional and economic stress levels. We've had that before. Crime hasn't spiked. You can't blame stuff on that. I mean, you can. It's just not really accurate, in my opinion. Public services and violence prevention programs have been cut in Oakland. All right. I mean, okay. With ever rising housing prices in Oakland, here we go with housing prices. Now, why are they so high? Are you not building enough? Do you have policies that constrict the flow of construction of homes in California? I was watching on Tucker Carlson, young man who knows that I, podcast on these things. He sent me a link to the Brett Weinstein. I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's a biologist, and he was talking about the Darien Gap. And one of the things that, totally unrelated to this, but he was talking about, he was questioning, this is a biologist, world-renowned biologist. And he went to the Darien Gap to see, hey, what's this deal? And if you don't know what the Darien Gap is, it's that section in Panama where people coming from South America and Central America have to go through to get into Mexico, eventually get into Mexico. And one of the comments he was making that I thought was very interesting, if you haven't seen that interview with Tucker, it just came out not long ago, is he was questioning all of the folks leaving the really expensive, really nice areas of California. I thought that was interesting. He's like, what's going on there? And my thought was, well, they're just leaving areas that have been overrun with criminal activity. And he's kind of questioning, he's like, yeah, go a step beyond that. What is going on in those really nice areas of California that have been just destroyed with crime? What's going on there? So that one to me was like, all right, that's a biologist dude. That's not a real estate dude. And yet he's questioning this. Kind of gets that conspiracy theory thing going on, right? So with ever rising housing prices in Oakland and across California, homeless encampments have multiplied on sidewalks and under freeway bypasses because you've had a soft on homeless approach. Oh yeah, it's okay. We'll give you a tent. We'll give you free food. We'll give you whatever you want. I mean, give you the sidewalk. Literally, they're taking up the sidewalk. The rise in homeless population has also increased public safety concerns. Yeah, interesting. Although someone who is homeless is no likelier to be a criminal than a house person, research shows. I don't buy that for a second. That is some nonsense. And the way that I know that is go into any homeless encampment. I'm by them all the time when I'm over in Seattle. These are not Bible thumpers. These are not people praying. These are not people doing baptisms, right? No, they're doing drugs. They're doing drugs. They are smoking the blues. They really are. And in order to keep smoking those blues, they got to commit, crimes in order to fund their drug habit. So yeah, it's just nonsense to say, well, even though they're in a tent, there's not much more crime. That's nonsense. Rising crime is causing some Oakland business owners to question whether they can continue to operate in the city. They are way beyond questioning, CNN, way beyond questioning. They are leaving in droves. Yeah, not questioning. The ones that are left are like, all right, how much longer till I'm out of here? How much longer until I vacate the city? Cindy Varela, the owner of Zona Latina Inn, what was that? The Latin American restaurant, and said burglars have broken into the restaurant overnight and vandalized it. These people came here and they broke my windows. I lost my money. Crime is a big problem here, and she's lost customers because people are scared to sit down to eat. That's what happens when you have a soft on crime approach. You want to feel sorry for the business owners and you want to have compassion for them. But if you really dig down and look, at some point in time, a lot of these folks voted for the politicians in place that have the soft on crime approach. Somebody voted in Gruesome Newsom, right? Somebody voted in the Oakland Council. Somebody did. It just didn't magically happen. It wasn't like, oh, hey, how'd they get there? No idea. Who voted them in? I don't know. Maybe you? Don't know. If conditions continue like this, she may have to close the restaurant. So, this is not a new story. But Gruesome Newsom throwing in 120 John and Ponches. That's when you're like, oh, okay, it's showtime, folks. It's showtime. Solutions. Police and law enforcement advocacy groups say more cops on the street are needed. But we had that whole magical moment when defunding the police was just the greatest concept ever, wasn't it? I mean, that was truly revolutionary, just in the wrong way. Yeah, that was horrible because people got it in their head. Oh, defund the police. This is really going to work. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great for our community. And, and the rest of us that are reasonable kind of sat by and said, well, let's get out the popcorn. We got shenanigans. We got shenanigans for days. And that's what this is. This is a response to shenanigans. That's all you got. Somebody said the other day, maybe they're new to this podcast. You're like, I don't know when you consider armed robbery a shenanigan. That's serious business. And I use the term shenanigan because it number one, it's a fun word to say, right? Just say it. Just say it out loud. Shenanigan. What is that? Well, it's a catch-all term for all kinds of ridiculous stuff going on that is due to bad policy. That's what shenanigans means. And we got lots of them in Oakland, right? I mean, they are, it is a happening. Oakland has also been without a police chief for around a year. Yeah, they're searching though. Don't worry. They're searching. They're doing a national search. They want to get it just right. Could it also be that nobody wants to be the chief of police in Oakland? I know we did a big search here in Seattle before interim police chief Adrian Diaz became permanent police chief Adrian Diaz. And so sometimes it takes a while to find somebody who wants to take on that job. Let's see. Oakland. No, I don't want that job. Business leaders have called for tougher public safety policies in Oakland's commercial districts. Really? Weird. Such as allowing police traffic stops for vehicles with illegally tinted windows and more street police patrols. I thought stopping people for various things like, having expired tabs, maybe not having plates on, illegally tinted windows. I thought that we stopped doing that because it was racist. Wasn't that the basis for a lot of this? I believe it was. So are we going to go back? Because so many of the police stops that happen for small reasons escalate into the police being able to catch criminals. They run their plates, they run their driver's licenses, and then they catch the bad guys. If you're not doing anything wrong and you got tinted windows that are illegal, well, then you get a ticket for illegally tinted windows, right? That's how you catch the bad guys. You got to be able to do more than just, we can't stop them. And this whole thing with, you can't chase after people. That is just the stupidest thing. Oh, it's too dangerous. Well, just let that car crash at 100 miles an hour into somebody and tell me how too dangerous goes, right? Because the police in so many jurisdictions now, they can't chase after somebody. Nope, got to let them go. All right. Oh, the guy down the road catches him. Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao said that since taking office last year, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm just taking a whack at it, right? She has pursued a comprehensive community safety plan. How is that working out since John and Ponch are now being brought into the picture? I mean, okay. Focused on investing in the police department. Oh, now we're investing instead of defunding. Now we're investing. Interesting. Strengthening violence prevention and leveraging technology to disrupt criminal networks. How about we just throw some of the bad actors in jail for a long time? What about that? Get them off the streets. Oh, Sean, we can't arrest our way out of this ones. I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try. Why not? Nothing else is working, right? How about just go back to the basics? Let's see. You committed a crime. Now you're going to do the time. Over the past 2 months, there have been reductions in property crimes in business districts across Oakland, she said. And that's why Denny's is closing, and that's why In-N-Out is closing. Okay, well, I mean, whatever. She also directed the police department to resurrect its ceasefire strategy, which Oakland walked away from in 2020 to focus on pandemic relief. No, they did it to appease the far left nut jobs that are to blame for a lot of this. They just flat out are. They love the lack of law and order. They hate cops. They want cops to be abolished. They want the legal system to be abolished. So, here you go. Shenanigans for days, I say. Nigel Jones, the restaurant, said the city is not going to arrest our way out of this problem. All right. Well, I mean, let's not arrest our way out, and we'll just see how it goes. We'll just see what happens. Because I don't live in Oakland, right? It will take partnership between businesses, the mayor's office, elected officials, and others to create safer neighborhoods and improve conditions. Now, you got to throw some people in jail. You got to draw the line. You got to be willing to go after people. And in Oakland, that is not the case. That's not the case. So sending 120 John and Ponches, looks good. I mean, it's all right. I want to see him going in on that convoy, 120 of them all at once. Nah, that's not going to happen, is it? Not going to happen. That's not the way it goes. They just kind of show up and, all right, you go over there and you take that sector, and you go over and you take that sector, and let's see what we can do. Because so much of this is way beyond just bringing 120 cops in. It's the fundamentals of the justice system, particularly in California. And that's why people are leaving in droves, not just from Oakland, but other areas too, because things have just gotten so bad. I ran into a young man down in, he's from Bakersfield, and he is a new YouTuber. And he got his friends and I think a family member to spot him $300-400, something like that. And he drove down from Bakersfield, California, down to Eagle Pass to basically film what's going on. I might have had him on a live stream. I can't remember if he was there or not. But he literally goes out and he does Nightcrawler. Have you seen the Nightcrawler movie? That's a good movie. It's about people basically chasing crime scenes and getting that up close footage. I've watched that movie probably a dozen times. It's a gruesome movie from the standpoint of the crime scenes that they show. And it's got that Hollywood scene, and that's what makes it so good. But the guy from Bakersfield, California, he went down to the border, and I asked him, where else are you going to be able to get kind of the viewers that you're probably getting, what's going on here at the border? And he goes, my hometown, Bakersfield. And I was like, oh, yep. Okay. You go out and you chase the crime scenes. You got lots of them in Bakersfield. So it's not, and that's Northern California. We're down here in Oakland, East Bay area. You've got a lot of communities that are suffering from this kind of criminal activity in California. And that's why it's gone from being, the Golden State, the American dream, to having this kind of influence where the young lady in the video that we watched said, people don't want to come over if they know they're going to get robbed. And, that is what is so true. It's the real estate, which is where people live, is all about the impression. What do we think about it? That's what it's all about. Oh, it's safe. It's in that community. It's safe. Oh, that community? Oh, it's not. And that's where your values either drop or rise significantly, because it's all about reputation. It's all about impression. It's not about, that's a really good looking house. Yeah, but what neighborhood is it in? It's in Oakland. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, what else do you have nearby, but without the Oakland address? And that's a massive generalization, but that is the hardcore reality that's going on out there. And even gruesome Newsom recognized it, because he's sending in John and Punch to solve the shenanigans. We'll just have to see how that plays out. What's going to happen? You might have a small dent in crime. I don't know, a little bit, but Oakland's a big city. 120 of John and Punch ain't going to do it, folks. Shenanigans means we're going to be podcasting on it down the road here somewhere. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I will catch up with you in the next one. Until then, we'll see you then. Bye for now.